Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So yesterday we got our first content drop for the Seattle Kraken in NHL 21. I'm not going to lie, a little surprised at it, especially because it happened right after the draft. They literally did a live drop. So that was exciting. So we'll break all that down. It does look, basically they just added what looks to be base cards with the Seattle Kraken card art, which I was pretty stunned for that to see that in the game so early. With all of their selections, obviously yesterday Ron Francis picking his team. And I think, while it wasn't completely shocking because there was definitely some routes that they could go with the draft. It was a little boring in the sense that there wasn't a lot of exciting picks made that could have really shook up the hockey world. But that's okay. I think that they are armed with a ton of cap space, which is a major weapon in this league, especially in the flat cap era. And I think they're positioned quite well. I think what a lot of people forgot about was the fact that there is 3 potential franchise players in the draft the next 2 years and not performing well and not going for it with a team of kind of your 8th best forwards and defensemen in the NHL. To just sit back and build with a ton of cap space and try and actually build a roster from the ground up, as opposed to what Vegas did. And I don't think Vegas intended to do what ended up happening to them either. I think they just kind of were a perfect storm, and that's something we'll probably never see again in sports, to be honest with you. But nonetheless, we're here to talk about the Kraken, and we'll go through all of their new cards and just take a quick look at them. Obviously, it is a base card team, but yeah, like I said, the card art is pretty sweet. Now, the one thing I will say, guys, I'll get a ton of questions about this. The jerseys will not be in the game. It sounds like that won't happen until 22, but their logo is in the game, and, you know, that's fun for card art. So let's get into it. All right, so if you go to event items here in my collection, you can actually see it. It isn't actually in the NHL team-based collection, but here we go. We've got the Seattle Kraken, and we'll go through them all, and I'll just give my takes on the picks. There's some that I don't get to watch because I'm a Sharks fan. I just, I don't catch the Eastern Conference very often, but I'll give my takes as best as I possibly can, and we'll start with the Philadelphia Flyers selection, the 85 CARSON TWARYNSKI, 6'2", 198. This one was kind of shocking just due to the fact that Voracek and JVR were available, but again, Ron Francis making it very evident that he does not want to be saddled with any bad contracts at all. Even, a lot of people will be like, well, you could have just traded him. I'm not going to lie, guys, in a flat cap era, it's going to be awfully tough to get any of those bad contracts that, that people wanted to get rid of for Seattle. So it's not like NHL, franchise mode where you can get anything for anything. It's just awfully tough. So CARSON TWARYNSKI is probably going to play in the AHL at most, a 4th liner. And in this game, unfortunately, he's really not usable. Some of these cards I want to try and use, and I'm going to make a theme team here for Hut with the Kraken, but this is going to be awfully tough. He's got 85 speed and 86 acceleration, so this one, that is what it is. Then we've got my San Jose Sharks pick, the 85 Alexander True, 6'5". He's got phenomenal size, but just not, the Sharks had no depth, so their picks just were not going to be very good no matter who they took. I'm okay with them taking Alexander True. He is gigantic, but his time in the NHL, he just didn't stand out at all. He looks like he's going to be a fringe NHL player, but is what it is. With Barrage, he actually has a half-decent shot in the game, and Workhorse is cool because it does get his acceleration up to 90, but that speed is capped at 86. I wish his face-off rating was a little high, even though he's not a center, obviously, but, just gives the option to play him there because he is so big. But a pure winger, 6'5", 86 speed, 90 acceleration, and with Barrage, a decent shot, you could probably get by with using, but it's going to be tough. Then we've got the 85 Brandon Tanev, 6 foot with Spark and Gladiator. Brandon Tanev, not a bad player, obviously by his contract is okay. They needed to get to the floor anyway, so it's not like it was awful. From the Pittsburgh Penguins. This card specifically, though, again, going to be tough to use just because his speed could be 88, his acceleration's capped to 88, and his shot, as long as you have Barrage, isn't awful at this stage. 82 accuracy is pretty rough. But yeah, Brandon Tanev from the Pittsburgh Penguins. Then we've got the 85 Carson Soucy, huge defenseman from the Minnesota Wild, 6'5" with heart and soul and wingman. Really not gonna be able to use at all. He is gigantic. I wish they would have just gone full out, and I like what they did here because it is a base card team. It is like their team, so I understand that. I just really wish that they, would have given speed at least upgraded so that we could use some of these guys, even if their shot and everything else wasn't. You're just really not going to be able to do anything with him. He's basically a tree. Then we've got John Quenneville from the Chicago Blackhawks, kind of a shocking pick as well. 86 speed, 87 acceleration. So again, we're still stuck in that kind of not able to be used territory with the 85 John Quenneville from the Blackhawks. Then we've got the 85 Curtis and McDermott from the Kings. Real tough player. I've seen him, play against the Sharks for quite some time now. 6'5" is obviously going to be extremely tough. Their defense that Seattle has is actually low-key pretty good. Now, I'm assuming not all of them are going to ever play for the Seattle Kraken because they're probably going to make a lot of trades, and most of them are going to involve defensemen. But 86 speed, 87 acceleration. Barrage can make his shot okay, but then, deking, offensive awareness, puck control, he's just going to lose. It's going to be awfully tough. So, again, these cards not really usable at all in this stage of the game. 85 COLIN from the Vancouver Canucks. Got a shot a little bit this year to play with Bo Horvat. Just didn't perform all that well. There was some rumors, I guess, that they would have protected COLIN had it not been for that Jason Dickinson trade with the Dallas Stars. 88 speed, 89 acceleration. Again, we're kind of getting there where you could actually use them in terms of speed. And then his with balance activated and light the lamp, his hand stats aren't completely awful. But at this point, if you've got all of the team-based synergies, you might be in okay shape. But yeah, COLIN, the 85 overall is what it is. Then we've got the 85 Hayden Fleury 6'3" with Howitzer. This was a nice pick. Obviously, Ron Francis drafting him back with Carolina. Does have 90 speed, which, again, 90 is what we're looking for here. Again, it's not going to be a really usable team, but I think it's kind of fun, again, if you were to make a team with the Kraken, which is what I'm going to do. So here, Hayden Fleury, 6'3". I think this is a good pick, and again, like I said, they've got defensive depth. They also selected his brother from Montreal, CALE Fleury, 87 speed, 91 acceleration. So again, we're kind of getting into that speed being able to be used category. But yeah, the 85 CALE Fleury here. I think that everyone was disappointed that he didn't really make a gigantic splash and take either DRIEDGER or Carey Price. I think taking Carey Price would have been an awful decision. A lot of people will be like, well, he would have been a huge name to build around or a huge name to get interest and jersey sales and all that. Guys, you got to realize that jersey sales are shared in the NHL, and you've got probably about 3 seasons where the Kraken are going to be just extreme, or Seattle as a whole is just going to be really excited that they have a team. And you can take advantage of those 3 years by not being good and building a foundation. And I think, having that gigantic contract for that long really would hamstring them, just like it's hamstring Montreal right now. But, the 85 CALE Fleury went safe, and there it is. And we've got the 85 Joey DACCORD from the Ottawa Senators, 6'2". Not a bad goaltender. I think they went. The one thing that kind of shocked me with their goaltender picks is that they're all relatively unproven, I guess would be the way to say it. But Joey DACCORD, probably their best option. I thought it might have been Chris Tierney. I think that, again, biased as a Sharks fan, that Chris Tierney was a really good bottom 6 player and just someone now old enough to be kind of a veteran on a team that's doesn't have a ton of depth. So the 85 Joey DACCORD from the Ottawa Senators. Then we got the 85 Dennis Cholowski. I forgot that he was a first-round pick. He had a decent season, though, at 87 speed as well with speedster. Can get up to 90. His acceleration, though, is 86. Barrage makes it okay with his shot. But, yeah, this is not really going to be, again, not really usable here in-game over the 85 Dennis Cholowski from the Detroit Red Wings. The 85 Will Borgen from the Buffalo Sabres. He's big. I've seen him play quite a bit. And at 6'3" here, 87 speed, 88 acceleration, much like the other guys, just not really. They're kind of capped here. And these are their lower overall picks. They're less exciting ones. But yeah, Will Borgen from the Buffalo Sabres. Then we've got the 85 Gavin BAYREUTHER, 6'1" with distributor and magician, 87 speed, capped out there. Accelerations up to 88. Thing about, Gavin BAYREUTHER, I think the biggest thing about him was the shock that there was no Max Domi taken from the Blue Jackets. And again, I don't think Max Domi is an incredible player. However, again, it seemed to be like one of the kind of locks in my opinion. But nonetheless, I think that Ron, after seeing how the rest of his team went, I like the fact that he didn't really make a ton of, commitments in terms of just contracts with a lot of money or terms. So Gavin BAYREUTHER from the Blue Jackets. We got the 85 Mason Appleton, who had a pretty good season offensively, kind of broke out a little bit here in this last season with distributor and wingman. Obviously not going to be very good in terms of stats right now, but I think this might be a decent pick. I think the surprise here is that no Jason DeMello was taken. I think Winnipeg kind of lucked out there because they're already so thin on defense. But yeah, the 85 Mason Appleton. Then we're getting up above the base cards. We got the 86 Colin Blackwell from the Rangers, Gladiator and Shutdown. He had a time on the first line with Panarin last year, and I think that boosted his stat totals. But he's been kind of a career AHLer. Speeds up to 88, acceleration 89. And he's 5'9" with a good body checking stat, but again, that doesn't really translate good into NHL 21. Then we've got the 87 Nathan Bastian from the New Jersey Devils, saying a little bit younger, 6'4", but just looks to be at best a fourth liner, maybe a third liner. A pretty tough guy, 89 speed and 90 acceleration. So again, when you get to 90 speed and 90 acceleration, at least it's somewhat usable. It's going to be awfully tough, but still. But it's 6'4" with a good body checking stat. He's going to at least be tough to get around at center, but obviously 75 faceoffs makes it awfully tough. Then we've got the 89 Jamie Oleksiak with Howitzer and passing playmaker. Obviously one of the better hut cards for quite some time, and he signs with Seattle from the Dallas Stars. I think they have a really good defensive core, and over the last few years, Jamie Oleksiak has kind of really come into his own here after being a pretty high prospect. So 90 speed on a 6'7" player is nice. And then we've got that's basically Zdeno Chara light, real light. And then we've got the 87 acceleration. His shot is decent with a shot power at 99, but that shot accuracy is real low. But again, if you have barrage, here you go. Body checking 97. So defensively, he's a really, really good card. But, there it is. Then we've got the 89 Morgan Geekie. I think this is one of the more surprising ones. And it was announced, I thought we would see the trades yesterday. I'm assuming because I've seen some things on The Athletic that there wasn't any side deals. Which blows my mind because that is how Vegas made their hay. And maybe, there just wasn't really anything to be had. Teams are being smarter and just rather dealing with each other as opposed to just having to deal with the Kraken. That being said, Carolina was the surprising one because they had some really good options. They could have gone Jake Bean. They could have gone with Niederreiter, who had a really good season, on pace for over 30 goals in a full season. But instead, they went with Morgan Geekie, who's not a bad player at all. Just a little stunning there, and I thought that there might have been a side deal in place for them to take Geekie instead of Bean or Niederreiter, but none there wasn't. Or it doesn't appear to be. So 90 speed, 91 acceleration. This is probably the first forward card that's actually pretty usable, especially with Thief, because now you've got him to be able to play center as well, and 6'3". So this is actually a pretty decent card. Then we've got the 90 Adam Larson. I'm not gonna lie, I'm as an outsider, I'm not a big Edmonton Oilers fan, and I've got a feel. I might make a whole other video on the Edmonton Oilers because they are just. I feel for the Edmonton Oilers fans. Nonetheless, he turned into a great defensive defenseman. I think analytic-wise is, again, I don't get to watch him very much, so I can just go by the numbers. He's become a really, really good defensive defenseman, and 4x4, I'm just kind of stunned that they let him go. And it looks like they're going to sign, maybe Barry, and I think, that looks to be a gigantic mistake because his offensive totals obviously insanely boosted because of the players that he plays with, and defensively, he's a major liability. But anyways, the 90 Adam Larson, 90 speed with 93 acceleration. He's got good size. Again, this is actually a decent usable card that you could use if you're trying to build a Seattle Kraken theme team. Then we've got the 91 Vince Dunn from the St. Louis Blues. And again, I think this was, obviously everyone wanted them to take Tarasenko just to kind of, shock the world and give us some excitement. I'm sure that they did their due diligence. I'm starting to think that there's something really wrong with Tarasenko. I know he's got shoulder issues, but I'm starting to think character-wise that they just didn't want him. Didn't want to deal with that headache. A lot of people are like, why don't you take Tarasenko and trade him? I think that the Blues were trying to trade him and didn't have a ton of great offers, so they just went with a safer bet. Vince Dunn's a pretty good defenseman. Liability a little bit in his own zone, but offensively he's not bad. And I think that this is probably the safer play. 92 speed with 96 acceleration. Is with barrage, can get a decent shot as well. But yeah, definitely a usable defenseman if you're looking to play with him in NHL 21. Then we've got the 92 Jared McCann, the former Toronto Maple Leaf. And a lot of people were kind of slamming Dubas for not protecting Jared McCann after getting him for such a cheap price in the 7th round pick in a very thin draft and basically Philip Hollander. But I think that getting to protect their roster, not lose anyone with, how decent of a team that they are. Not losing Kerfoot, not losing Hall, not losing Dermott. And a lot of people are like, why not just get rid of Hall and expose him? This team is slammed up against the cap, and they had a top 4 defenseman making, $2 million. That just is worth way more to them than what Jared McCann would have been, even though he is a very, very good player. But I think that it was a safe deal for them to keep everyone, and, obviously ended up being a good pick for the Seattle Kraken. And again, I don't think Toronto lost anything because all they did was lose technically a 7th and Hallander. All right, 6-1. With Thief and Light the Lamp. Can play center if you have Heart and Soul. Speed 95, acceleration 95, and everything else. This is actually a really, really good card. Like, his important stats with the synergies go way up. Like, this is actually a really nice card that you could probably get away with using and not, be like, oh my god, I'm getting crushed here by the God Squads of NHL 21. Then we've got the 92 Calle Yarncroke. From the Nashville Predators, obviously not going with Johansson and Duchesne, and again, obviously not trying to win games early or having the best team possible, and going the cap space route. Then those two weren't going to be an option. 94 speed with 95 acceleration. Everything else close in the high 90s. So a nice card here in the 92 Calle Yarncroke. Think of the 92 Chris Driedger, who appears to be the starting netminder for the Kraken. Obviously busted onto the scene last year. Tough playoff run, but nonetheless a very, very good numbers. 6'4" and decent goalie stats. He's got under 80 aggression and 6'4", and high stats. You could probably use him too. Then we've got the 93 VTech Vanishek. 6'1", 72 aggression. So again, a nice little combo there with the 93 VTech Vanishek. Then we've got the 94 Jonas Donskoy, again, ex-Shark great. Gave me one of the best moments in Sharks history, his goal in overtime in the Stanley Cup Final. But the Avalanche losing him. Now 94 speed, 95 acceleration, everything else in the high 90s. This is, again, a card that you could definitely use. And I like that they gave him shutdown to boost his body checking up, which is really high. So there you go. A good usable card in the 94 Jonas Donskoy. We've got the 95 Jeremy Lozon 6'2" with Light the Lamp and Wingman, and speed at 92, acceleration 96. And again, just another usable card on defense. With 99 body checking, defensive awareness, stick checking. Like, this is actually a half-decent defenseman card. His speed, obviously, a little low, but I wish they would have given him Speedster. But everything else really, really nice here in the 95 Jeremy Lozon. Then we've got the 95 Mark Giordano, and Workhorse and Howitzer is nice. Gets him 94 speed, 95 acceleration. But honestly, I think I like this Jeremy Lozon card a little bit more. But nonetheless, a really nice card here in the probable captain. I'm assuming they don't go a captain route because Giordano on a one year left on his deal is probably going to get traded if they're really focusing on the next few years in Seattle. But nonetheless, shot to be their captain in year 1. Then we've got Yanni Gourde, probably their best player, 5'9" with speedster, heart and soul, can get max speed, acceleration up to 95, everything else 99. Obviously tough for Tampa. He's going to get his shot. This would be the best chance of a William Karlsson situation from Vegas, as Yanni Gourde was stuck on that third line in Tampa, probably the best third line in hockey easily, and now Tampa's lost the entire thing. That's going to be awfully tough for them, but who knows. And, 5'9", obviously not very big in this game, but definitely going to be one of their mainstays here. And I'm excited to see how Yanni Gourde does in the Kraken. And then lastly, the 96 Jordan Eberle, 5'11", 96 overall with howitzer and balanced. 95 speed with 96 acceleration, everything else 99. So again, a very usable card here. And again, I think this is a nice pick. A lot of people were making the comparisons between Josh Bailey and Jordan Eberle. I think Bailey offered a little more flexibility, but Eberle offered a little bit more scoring upside. And he, again, now a veteran player, a nice, piece that will probably be around for a couple seasons. I doubt that they move him just because of contract and they do need bodies. So, but that is it, guys. The new cards in NHL 21 for the Seattle Kraken. Let me know what you think. I think this is a really cool release for them. And I like that they did it right after the draft. That was cool. I'm excited for next year, guys, honestly. But nonetheless, I am going to be starting, if you've been watching my channel, I've been doing a Ottawa Senators franchise series. Well, I will be doing a Seattle Kraken one as well, so I'm going to be setting that up today, and then hopefully getting the first episode out to you guys tomorrow. But guys, thank you for watching. Please subscribe on my road to 50,000 subs. It's going to be tough, but we're going to get there. All right, guys, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.